a ceasefire is due to come into effect in Gaza within the next 24 hours. But in the last hour, we've heard of multiple reports of Israeli airstrikes continuing this morning. It comes after the Israeli government approved US President Donald Trump's plan to end the war with Hamas. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says the UK stands ready to play its part and joins us live from Paris now, where world leaders are meeting to discuss the Gaza peace plan. So much hope of the world resting on that news over the last 24, 36 hours. However, in the last hour, it is disturbing to hear that there are these multiple reports of, airstrikes in several situations from several different sources. What do you know about this?
Well, we obviously want the full Phase 1 agreement of President Trump's peace initiative to be implemented as rapidly as possible. This is a huge moment to have this agreement in place, but now it needs to be implemented. It includes a ceasefire, the release of hostages, and the restoration of humanitarian aid. The agreement provided for the ceasefire to be in place 24 hours after agreement being reached, but we really want to see that in place immediately, and we would urge all parties to be able to do so, to take that urgent action. We know the work already is underway to start getting the humanitarian aid back into Gaza, where again it's desperately needed. We've had 2 years of suffering, we've had tens of thousands of lives lost, the agony obviously of hostage families, and we desperately need the action to prevent this humanitarian crisis that we've all seen on our screens and we all now need to make sure ends as a result of this peace initiative.
Of course, but people watching have so much hope. We've got to rebuild trust. There's just unimaginable trauma. I don't think people will understand that after the celebrations from all sides and the confirmation is going, they won't understand why even at this 1 minute to midnight hour, if this is going to happen, people are still potentially losing their lives in airstrikes.
Well, Kate, we want to see a complete end to all of the fighting, and we want to see that happen immediately. We have obviously been calling for this for a very long time. This is a moment of agreement and a moment of hope. Of course, it remains fragile, but there is a huge commitment from countries all across the world to make sure that this now is implemented. I would urge all of those involved to implement this swiftly, including implementing the ceasefire immediately. That is what the UK government wants to see.
Yvette Cooper, can I ask you, what happens next? I mean, I think a lot of people will be grateful and thankful of the ceasefire when it arrives. But what is the next phase? What happens? I mean, there is talk, and a part of the agreement is that Hamas will step down, that there is a discussion that Hamas will be demilitarised. We'll wait to see whether that happens. Hamas apparently has said they will play no part in the new setup. But what of the Israeli government? The fact is that Benjamin Netanyahu and his government are accused of plausible genocide. Yes, the ICJ is yet to make their final decision on that. We know that there are far-right extremists a part of that government as well. Do you feel there needs to be a change in government from the Israeli side, as well as the removal of Hamas, till we get any kind of long-term peace in that region?
Well, the US Peace Initiative set out a 20-point plan. The UK has contributed to that. Other countries have contributed proposals towards that, and they have set out this 20-point plan that has now been agreed to, was agreed to by the Israeli Prime Minister, was agreed to by Hamas. And what we've had so far is now the detailed agreement on the first phase. That was around 5 of the 20 points of the plan that was set out have now been agreed to in detail as part of Phase 1. So the first thing is that has to be implemented, and there's a huge amount of work, particularly on the humanitarian aid. That's what I've been in Paris discussing yesterday with other foreign ministers, is how all countries can do that. But you're right to say there then has to be the second phase, which is pinning down the detailed agreement on the the remaining 15 points of that 20-point plan and a whole series of things that need to take place.
I understand
Both sides
that.
have agreed to the 20-point plan. Now we need to get the details. Sorry, Adil.
No, sorry to interrupt, because I know we're out of time and you'll have other interviews to do. We'll run out of time very soon. But it's what's not in the plan is almost more relevant, isn't it? Not in the plan is the future of that Israeli government. What should that look like when they are accused of war crimes and genocide? There is no mention of the West Bank in that plan. There are illegal settlements in the West Bank. That is illegal by international law. What is the UK government stance on that? These are huge issues that have been around for decades, and until we address those, the state of the Israeli government, Benjamin Netanyahu himself is accused of corruption allegations in his own country. There are illegal settlements happening in the West Bank, which I know in the past you've been very vocal about those kind of things. So what needs to happen about those things? They're fundamental matters. Do we have a position on that as a UK government?
Well, the West Bank continues to be immensely important as part of this. President Trump has also made a commitment that he will not support any annexation of the West Bank, and we need to see the West Bank alongside East Jerusalem and Gaza. The UK government's view is that needs to be part of the Palestinian state that the UK government has recognised. What's clear as part of this process, and this set out in the 20-point plan, is the establishment of a Palestinian committee to begin the running of Gaza as a transitional arrangement without Hamas. There cannot be a role for Hamas, but also reforms to the Palestinian Authority, which currently is crucial in the West Bank, that then would be able to take over in Gaza as well. And that's part of the further steps down the track as part of the 20-point plan. So all of these things are going to need to be done on a step-by-step basis. We're just at phase one. All of these processes are fragile, but I think there is an international strong sense of consensus. We have got to support this, and that's why we had so many foreign ministers meeting here in Paris last night to all talk about what we can do to support the US peace initiative and to actually deliver peace on the ground.
Which is what the world wants, isn't it, for those there and everybody else. President Trump has been lauded for, bringing us to this point at least. The Nobel Peace Prize is announced today. I don't suspect he'll be winning it today. But in the future, would you support that?
President Trump has played a crucial role. I don't think there's anybody else who could have done these last stages of making sure that this 20-point plan could be accepted on all sides, but crucially alongside the Qataris, alongside Egypt and Turkey, who were also part of these negotiations over the past few weeks. So this is a crucial role, and it is a crucial peace process. Of course, those sorts of prize processes are independent of any government, but I think everybody recognises and wants to support the work that the US has been doing, building on work that many countries, including the UK and other countries, were contributing to through the summer in order to get to this crucial point now.
OK, just very, very quickly, these figures out today from your former department, the Home Office, it says that hate crime has increased over the last year. Muslim hate crime rose by 19%. We know that Jewish hate crime in London alone has increased by 40%. There's a concern that what's happening in the Middle East what's happening in the Middle East is affecting what's happening here. But how much do the language of politicians across all parties around immigration, around what's happening in the Middle East matter right now?
Well, I think at a time when you've got countries from across the globe coming together to try and support peace in the Middle East, I also hope we can see our country coming together as well, because we can't ever let or often very legitimate and important debates and disagreements about foreign policy turn into prejudice or hatred or hostility on our own streets and in our own communities. So we have a responsibility to do that and to make sure that our country can come together around effectively those decent British values that I think most of us will share.
Yvette Cooper, Foreign Secretary, you've got a big job to do today. Thank you very much for sparing the time to talk to us this morning. Thank you.